Okay guys, what's up? So, today we will be starting a brand new adventure. I think it'll be good fun. I used to play this game a lot when I was younger, and I really enjoyed it. But I haven't played it since, yeah, since I was younger. I think the last time I probably played this game I was in like middle school or something, or maybe high school. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. I like this game a lot. This is gonna be MS Saga: A New Dawn. It's a like a really classic JRPG based on Gundam, and yeah, it's a nice original story. It's fun. It's okay. uh, we're gonna change our character name. I don't think I am. Plays the same intro, actually at the beginning of the game as it does when you're just like waiting on the menu. So we'll watch it right now. I like this intro a lot. I used to love this intro song, actually. So as this kind of explains, the lore of this game is that a long time ago, there was like an apocalypse. What you find out as you play the game is that it was caused by the overuse of mobile suits, more or less. The advent of mobile suits led people to like developing a lot more and using these great machines called I don't remember what they're called. They're like G engines or something that are used to create mobile suits, and they were used just too much, and it eventually led to the apocalypse. So people were just cranking out mobile suits as much as possible, and it gets a lot deeper than that, kind of, as the game progresses. But that's pretty much the lore of it all. So this is kind of like a fan service Gundam montage game. Uh, you have this original story, and as you progress, you're going to see a lot of familiar mobile suits from older series, and familiar Gundams, which are kind of like just overly buff, and you get a lot of customization. It's just there to be a game that's cool for people that like Gundam, and I like Gundam, so I think this game's cool. This game was a PS2 game, and it was released in I don't know what year. The mobile suits don't go past Gundam Wing. Yeah. So, and it doesn't include any Gundam X mobile suits, if I recall correctly. It is just going to be original Zeta, double Zeta, Wing, and G Gundam. Excuse me. So, if you're a fan of Gundam X, V Gundam, F91, 8th MS Team, Stardust Memory, War in the Pocket, anything that's older like that, that's a side series, it's not going to be in here. And V Gundam wasn't Western. Anything that wasn't localized in America is not in here. And anything that's newer than Gundam Wing is not in here. I think Seed was already out at this time, but I think they made the cutoff at Wing just to make it easier. This is our main character. His name is Tristan. Him and his buddy Fritz have just developed their very first mobile suit. And this is pretty much the beginning of their adventure. All the combat in this game will take place in the mechs. So if it's...
This is a mobile suit? Wow, that's cool. Yeah, the G system's
G
really
system.
something.
I was close.
I had no idea you could make such huge things with it. Does this mean we're really going after them? Of course. That's why we made this. I knew it. I'm with you.
of course, for tutorial's sake, just as we've developed our very first mobile suit, another random mobile suit is here just to be annoying, and also so that we can have a second party member. Because after we beat the shit out of this guy, we're gonna get a second mobile suit.
A mobile suit? How the heck did it get in here? Who cares? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna fight, that's what.
Actually, couldn't remember if this game had voice acting. Like, I was pretty sure it did.
Now! Take it easy, Fritz. But nothing. We've got to get through this.
The cast of characters in this game is definitely colorful. If you notice how
I don't know how to pilot this thing.
how our characters are dressed here, and how some of the characters are dressed in the
How? The
video.
manual you gave us. Remember? Flip through it. Come on.
Change my
Oh yeah. Thanks.
make sure
Fritz.
everything is correct on this information. One second. There we go. Yeah, it does just have voice acting for bigger cutscenes. A lot of the dialogue is not voice acted. I'm a big fan of the what's it called? The art style they went for with this one. It's kind of like chibi mobile suits. I really like it. I really liked it when I was younger too. I've always been a big fan of this. It is part of what made me enjoy this game so much when I was younger. This guy is obviously an asshole. They just come out and hunt for mobile suits. So this will be our combat screen. It's a very basic like JRPG. There's a few like very universal mechanics to make it a little different. So at the bottom of the screen down here we have the energy gauge. As you can see I have two. Energy accrues over every turn. And there's certain things you can do to build more per turn. And certain suits will build more, etc. And it's used for doing attacks. So if you look here, my head Vulcan costs 1 energy, so that'll use 1. You can only use attacks, regular attacks, based on equipment that you have equipped and energy to use them. And every mobile suit with arms and a melee weapon has auto counter, which will occur whenever melee attacks are used. The reason I say suits with arms because there's some suits that don't have arms, and we're going to run into a lot of like tanks and mobile armors and stuff, and those cannot counterattack because they don't have melee weapons. So it's the general trade-off is that if you're using melee weapons, you do more damage to get hit back, and if you use ranged weapons, you don't get hit back, but you do less damage. If you notice, there's a 5 damage difference here. So we'll just use our head Vulcans. You notice my energy went down. So, and then I went up by 2. So right now we'll have 2 per turn, just to make sure that we can always do things. And this is a kind of game where our target reticle will change color a little bit based on how much health the enemy has. And then, as you saw when I was hit with his axe, I automatically hit him back. That is just a universal mechanic. Everybody has auto counter in this game. As demonstrated again. Oh, never mind, I killed him. He would have hit me back if he didn't die. This game is a lot about the customization of mobile suits and inventory management. So you can equip various parts. Most of them are cosmetic, but some of them will have like certain effects. Like if you get um, the goof arms on a mobile suit, you gain access to those finger guns without having to equip them. And it does give you the opportunity to really customize your mobile suits. It's actually like just how you want them to look. So what he's gonna do, of course, is he's gonna hijack their mobile suit. This is the more or less the only time this happens. Certain party members will come with their own mobile suit, but somewhat they'll just join your party and commandeer extra suit that you have. This is for the later ones. But we'll be introduced to getting more mobile suits later. It's done using these G systems. It's done with a collectible, which is data. Collect data by fighting mobile suits, if I remember right. It's done a lot if you played like the DS Digimon World games, or the newer Digimon, like Digimon story games, where you collect data by fighting Digimon, and then you use certain amounts of data to just develop them. It's done the same way here. You fight mobile suits, gain their data, bring them to the G engine or G systems, then you put them together. So this is the equipment screen. It's if you play like Resident Evil 4 or Kingdom Hearts 358 Days or something, it's very similar to like the attaché case. So every piece of equipment occupies a certain amount of blocks. You cannot rotate things, if I remember right. Yeah, can't rotate anything. So it's just how it is. You have to find a space for it, and then you put it down. So this comes in a lot, especially later as you get more equipment, of course, and as you get more mobile suits. Different mobile suits have different level amounts of space in the case. So corrupt data. Let's try this. Said it was successful. Appears to have been successful. Okay. This is being done on an emulator. I have not yet bought this game again. I owned it when I was younger. I think we sold it at a garage sale or something. And I do regret that a lot. So these tanks, as I said, things without arms can't counterattack. So things like these tanks, they can't hit you back. And then this is where techniques will come into play, because Fritz is like kind of a dedicated healer. He'll learn repair skills, which are used to heal. And Fritz's stats, as well as just the Zaku 1, are weaker on defense, so I do tend to give him more ranged weapons. Oh yeah. So there will be later in the game there will be a lot more like how the customization comes into play. I don't do a lot of actual suit customization. I like how the mobile suits look just how they are. But I do mess a lot with the equipment, of course, because I need to kind of min-max. And I like these chests in the world because they're huge. It makes sense because the mobile suits are huge. And then there's going to be more like context-sensitive chests when you're running around as people. It's the little things I appreciate a lot. I like the wind poses too. I think it's cool that Gundams have wind poses, or mobile suits have wind poses. There will be Gundams, of course, later in the game. They're treated as like these super legendary mobile suits. They're a very big deal. They're very limited. Uh, they're created in G systems just like the other ones, but the data is like a little bit more hidden, and most of them are optional. There's a couple of them that are given to you, but for the most part, I believe they're all optional. So this is where we start to get a little bit of the history here. We'll get some more in a minute, but more or less what happened is Tristan and Fritz are both orphans who were raised at an orphanage that we're going to walk by very soon.
Head north. That's the way to Marie's place. Marie's place? Oh.
Yeah. So, in a little bit, we'll be walking by the orphanage. There's just two orphans who, at some point when Tristan was going to be leaving the orphanage was attacked by a group of mysterious mobile suits. And these two are just out for revenge. This is Marie. Marie is like just kind of a mission control kind of advisor. She doesn't pilot any mobile suits, as far as I remember. She's definitely not a party member, so if she does, it's only for cutscenes. Um, she likes to dress like a maid, and she'll usually just like you come back here occasionally for advice on where to go next. Um, The only thing I kind of don't like about coming back here is that it is out of the way for the rest of the world. I do remember coming back here quite a bit up to where I was. I never beat this game, which is also something I do kind of regret. I wish I was able to do that when I was younger. I did make it moderately far. Excuse me. Yeah. So world map and dungeons are done in mobile suits, and a lot of town stuff is, of course, done as just the character. So that's what I was talking about. I like the scaled down stuff. There's a lot of items here because this is it's supposed to be like a repair place. She studies mobile suits. So we're gonna head up here. I think there's something else over here too. I don't quite remember. I am a little concerned because there was that corrupted data, which is from when I was like testing this emulator out. Uh, so I will be using save states to end every recording and any time that I stream. Pretty much whenever I'm done with this game, I'll just use a save state.
There's so many
More or less
lights.
the same time that I save the game.
What they are?
Mobile suits?
Exactly. Each light represents a single suit.
But there's so many of them.
That's the power of the G system. Even you were able to harness it. But this production speed, it's off the charts. I don't like the looks of this. Not one bit.
So more or less what she's saying is that a big issue here is that anybody can use a G system if they can find it and it works. They just need, the necessary data. It's supposed to just be like, oh, hey, this is a big deal kind of thing. I think there's treasure in one or two of these rooms. I'm just gonna look around. I also get confused as like which room is the way out. So there isn't a door like directly in front of her. Like I would assume the door would be over here to leave, but there's no door here. It's this one. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we got everything here. So now we're gonna leave. Talk to Fritz one more time, make sure that's what we're doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we're back on the world map, back in our mobile suits. Yeah. So he just says that he wants to walk by the orphanage one more time. Before we go to this town that she told us to go to. But it's on the way anyways, so it's not like it's out of the way. We do have a pretty straightforward romp here at the beginning of the game. And so there's no armor per se, like you would have in normal JRPGs. You have to worry about like equipping helmets and stuff like that. In this game, mobile suits have their own defenses, and I believe stats go up with levels. But you have shields, which will take up space on the grid, of course. It's something we'll need to be mindful of as we get along. This is a flashback to when the orphanage was destroyed, as I had already mentioned. Tristan was leaving. He was going to embark out in the world, and I don't know what he was going to do. But he was leaving the orphanage, 15 years old, what a big boy. I think it's interesting that it's very bright outside, obviously. But as soon as he leaves here, you know, things are gonna take a bit of a turn for the worse. Right? So we walk outside. Yes, it's very bright. And he takes a little jog, and the orphanage blows up. And suddenly it's like much darker. I understand smoke and whatnot, but it's like it was a bright sunny day and now it's dark and cloudy.
What is that?
There's like reasons why these guys blew up this random orphanage. I don't know what they are. Off the top of my head. Does have something to do with like the overall story. Like this orphanage blowing up is not just our character's motivation to getting started, it's like a big deal. This is of course a game where this small this seemingly small adventure for very personal revenge will turn into a quest to save the world. As it does. So that was the popular thing to do, I think, at this time. Especially this PS2 era. I feel like they already should have made that promise. As they've made it this far. Excuse me. Yeah, as we saw, he did just promise not to get into any fights. But now he's gonna go and kill a lot of people. This is a bit of a lawless country that they live in, lawless world. All these people piloting tanks and other mobile suits, they're just assholes. Just piloting tanks and mobile suits, and we're just blowing them up with reckless abandon.
Stop right where you are!
Huh?
Then, as we approach Angelia, they of course think we're raiders, as we've just rolled up in some mobile suits. I think that's pretty reasonable. I would have actually parked them a little bit further away. It is something that happens a number of times in this game. It's going to happen again in a little bit where we're going to be approaching another city and they're also going to assume that we're assholes. I do think it's a sign of the times that yeah, if you roll up in something that caused the apocalypse, of course everybody's going to think you're a fucking asshole. And the game audio is working? Is it not working? It appears to be working, okay. I need to try to be mindful of the levels. It's something that I definitely struggle with. Now, as with a lot of like early towns in JRPGs, there's gonna be just shit. There's some stuff that we can find. We can just walk into people's houses. could have told us something like how it's rude to just barge into people's homes, but you know, that's fine. Nothing in there. I do try to take time to look around. Most of the towns and cities are not. Oh, locked door. Oh, a lockpick. A lot of the towns and cities are not like really large, so I will be taking some time just to run around and make sure there's nothing of value sitting anywhere. Most important things I think to be, or the main reason why it's important to do this is because you can find data for mobile suits, especially later. And if those prices for the data do get kind of high, so I think it's a good opportunity to, you can find it just sitting around instead of having to buy it. We're gonna go in here. We're gonna do that later, it's part of the story. Not this room. This one. He's also very willing to just like help two teenagers run around in very dangerous weapons. So, like that old lady mentioned, there was a spaceship that fell from the sky. It's called the Moonarch, as he's talking about right now. And we're going to go check it out, because mobile suits have been spotted there. The Moonarch is a huge plot thing, and we will be going back to it a lot during this playthrough, because it's where you can get a lot of data for Gundams later in the game. So it will be something that we're going to revisit probably a few times over the course of this playthrough. Fuck. As with a lot of JRPGs, I think the early fights are kind of dull, I would say. As a result of just limited options. Eventually we'll be introduced. You notice the boost is blacked out on our menu. Those are kind of like buff attacks. They just require more energy. And then TP is all for technique points. So, but as soon as we gain access to boosts, we'll be using them quite a bit. The general, I would say, strategy is you have some characters who can provide some buffs and debuffs, which you take advantage of a little bit. Not quite as much as like modern SMT games, but a little bit, you know, here and there. And then you use basic attacks just to deal damage slowly and build energy. And then as soon as you can, you just start blowing your load with boosts. We're going to be fighting a boss in here. It's a pretty easy one. It's a, you know, another very early boss. This is the first sort of dungeon, but it's not really all that taxing, I would say. A lot of the dungeons in this game are not greatly taxing either. They're pretty straightforward. And using my taking advantage of my emulator here. The save state. This thing on the right that I'm walking towards is going to be what we're coming back for. There's parts of the ship that are sealed that will progressively unlock. I don't know if you have to do them for story reasons, but they definitely unlock later, and it's how you gain some of the Gundams much later in the game, like the more optional ones, I think. So, but I'm just gonna check it out. So this is gonna be pretty much how we progress. We'll be opening a lot of these doors as we go. Then anytime on the map there's these like weird icon, or these weird like things that I just ran into. These are story fights. They are mandatory. It's how they so as they're explaining in the top right corner, it says the enemy, and then what kind of attack they're going to be doing next, as well as their energy levels. So, generally speaking, as you fight boss, it's mostly so as you fight enemies, you start to figure out like how much energy it requires for certain attacks. So you can just kind of plan, and always keep in mind that ranged and melee attacks do different levels of damage. It's mostly just so that you can plan more accordingly. As I was saying, these are story fights. They're mandatory encounters. Instead of like placing something on the map that you have to like talk to and interact with, you run into these icons first. It gives you more opportunity to do them too, and they're more noticeable, I think, than in some games where it's just like an NPC that you have to talk to. And also, I think it's a lot better than like running into an area that triggers a cutscene, because you have to actually run into these enemies. So we just learned a boost attack. Fritz learns his first boost attack, as I was explaining a minute ago. It's going to be pretty important, just because they're another option for us during combat. I don't think there's anything up here. Oh, there might be. For sure, the other way is the way we're supposed to go, because there's a mandatory fight over there. Oh, there's a mandatory fight over here. Fuck me. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So like he said, boost attacks will use energy. There's two ways of kind of like growing energy. You can defend, which is just a regular defend. I think defend is generally a better option. You won't use or gain any energy, but then on your next turn you'll of course gain energy. Or you can use charge, which gives you 1 energy, and then you gain energy for the next turn. So right now, if I were to charge, it's like I gain 3 energy as opposed to my usual 2. So I'll be using both of theirs. Shoot all. This is our first introduction to an attack that hits all of the enemies. Usually regular attacks won't do that, so that is the big advantage to things like techniques and boosts, is dealing damage to multiple enemies at once. Fritz is dead. I don't pay attention to healing. I'll just take care of this fight real fast. I don't think the danger of a game over is that great this early, but the occasional character death is definitely always a possibility. Fortunately, the early healing items do heal for quite a bit. shield. So I talked about shields earlier. This is pretty much as far as defensive items get us. Oh, beautiful. So they occupy space on the grid, just as regular equipment does. And they just provide you with extra defenses, which are important when you're getting melee attacked, when you're trying to defend from big attacks, and when you're getting counterattacked. I guess when you're getting shot too, but the bigger things are like when you know you'll be taking damage. And I also got a top cannon from one of the tanks. This is a piece of equipment that I'm able to equip onto somebody. Like Fritz. And I'll be taking advantage of this as just a way of doing bigger damage. Right? So, largely in the same way that like it's a little different than other JRPGs because usually you only equip like one or two types of weapons. But in this game, because I have the options to equip more types of more different weapons, I'll be taking advantage of that. Mostly with things like bigger cannons or beam weapons as will start to come into play. Big damage. Energy management will start to become a bigger factor. So my general strategy for singular enemies will be to build Fritz's energy up so that he can use the cannon. And build Tristan's energy up so that he can use the boost attack. And for multiple enemies, I'll be saving energy so that Fritz can use his boost, his shoot all. Very aptly named. This guy also has the top cannon. So as he just said that if it displays ETC in the top, etc., it means they're doing an action that is not an attack usually. Sometimes they'll do like a special attack. But when they're doing that, they won't be counterattacking you, so you can use melee attacks. But for a lot of regular enemies, especially this early, when they do that, it means they're going to be defending, which means that you're going to deal less damage anyways. But it is a nice opportunity to try and squeeze in a physical attack, especially if you have like strong physical weapons like beam sabers, which we'll get later, or certain other just generally strong pieces. This door is locked. Yeah, so this is one of the doors that we'll be unlocking much later in the game. I don't think it's much later, I think it's just a little bit later. We continue down this way. And if you notice, I'm having some issues with like where I'm running and then I'm walking. It's just a controller issue, like the diagonals are weird, are being read weird. Go drop another save. Save state. I like how they look around as if they are not able to see this mobile suit.
Hey, that mobile suit.
So he's discerned that this mobile suit is one of the ones responsible for attacking the orphanage, so we're gonna wrestle and tussle. We're gonna blow him up. We're not just gonna make him bay, we're gonna actually explode him. And quite possibly kill him. Of course, because story reasons, he was involved that day, but I do think it's funny that he just kind of runs at him and he's like, obviously this guy was there. So I will be doing combat mostly ranged like this until I have boost attack, and all ranged on Fritz's end until I have a cannon attack, just alternating between the machine gun and the cannon. Tristan will just use his trusty head Vulcans, healing when necessary. We need a heal yet. I'll go ahead and use one. Fritz's HP is of course always, I think always going to be lower than Tristan's, since he is supposed to be more of a dedicated healer. So he will be the one I do generally heal a bit more often. This fight is pretty simple. Usually if you just take advantage of boost attacks, and if you have a Magilla top cannon, it stays pretty simple. Now we gained access to the grenade, which is going to be our first offensive spell. Vladi's Arth, yes. Excuse me. Now that we have his name, of course, we can really get this adventure underway. And now that we've not quite destroyed this mobile suit, we can notice that we didn't release the pilot. There's just a girl
What's she doing?
on the ground.
Come on, Fritz.
This is going to be a very important story character.
Are you okay? She's out cold. She's still alive.
Now, I wouldn't have recommended getting out of my mobile suit at in an area where there's tanks and mobile suits running around. But, you know,
Did she just say destroy
whatever
the world? What does that
floats
mean?
their boat.
Whatever. We've got to get her out of here. Come on. Marie will know what to do.
I also like how their answer is just to take her to another woman. Obviously, us men have no idea what to do, so let's take her to a woman. So this is us again being transported back to the to Marie's place. This is gonna happen a few times. Sometimes we're gonna have to run over here, which I like even less. Naturally, even though she's lost her memory and we've never met her before, we're gonna talk to her and try to lift her spirits.
Who are you?
And of course, we need to give our main character the opportunity to fall in love with this mysterious young lady. We're gonna teach her about some good old introductions. We're gonna give her a name also. I think she names herself. I don't remember what it, like how they get there. She just says, her name is Aeon. It is a weird name, I agree. I like how nobody else is concerned with the fact that she's dressed very strangely. She looks like she's straight out of a sci-fi movie. And Fritz looks like he just hangs out in junk shops too much. But, her clothes are very weird. Hers and Fritz's definitely don't fit like anything at all. Mostly Fritz's helmet he wears all the time for some reason. But nobody ever comments on the fact that Aeon wears this weird space outfit 100% of the time. We're fully healed anyways, but this is also a place where you can heal and rest for free if you're tight on funds for some reason or you don't feel like staying in any of the regular inns. So we've been called back to Angelia. We're gonna run back over there real quick. Run some more tanks. So armor is a factor that is not like outright stated. It's usually just like if you look at something and it looks like it has a shield or it might have extra armoring, you need ways of bypassing that. Beam weapons are a good way around those, as well as Fritz's grenades, which ignore armor. Now we'll begin our very casual trek back to Angelia. I do think that Tristan is kind of like lacking in the main character role necessarily. He doesn't gain big skills or anything. Right now Fritz is the only one with any techniques. All Tristan has is the ability to dash up to people and hit them, which is kind of lame. Back in Angelia now. Back to Sea Constable Ox. Is it this one? It's the other one. Did that last time too. I'll do it again, don't worry. I'll do it probably almost every time that I come here. Fort Verde. I love Spanish. But this fort has been captured. There's a lot of mobile suits involved, so naturally, let's send the kids. think you can refuse, but you can't do anything. Or they just say that we need to do it anyways. And Fritz the ever... I like Fritz a lot because he's got his eye on some prizes, right? I like the big R word. That's reward. And I don't necessarily think we have to run around and be do-gooders without getting paid. I think we should be rewarded for doing the right thing. Let's pop into the item shop here real quick. See what they have for barricades, healing meds. Okay, so we're fine on items. This guy has stairs though, maybe there's shit up here. Stuff? No stuff? No stuff. Alright, then we'll just piece up on out of here. That's the moon arc. We're gonna go more east. Of course, we fight tanks. What we're looking for. This thing acts as like just kind of like a bridge, more or less. It's here to be a story point, and if you ever, as you're going back and forth between these areas, you do have to walk through this, which I don't like because I think it's intrusive. Pop quick save. I will save at almost every single save point, especially new ones as I run into them. So we're just gonna stroll on in here, and as you can see, there's a lot of these mandatory fights. You can do these in any order, and then if I'm remembering correctly, whichever one is the last one that you do will just be like the boss. Fritz's grenade technique is just infinitely more useful against everything here. His mobile suits should have better armor than the average not mobile suit. Oh, we're using our top cannon as well. Easy. This will happen like a few more times. There's just going to be areas, so there's just a lot of encounters that are all mandatory. But I think in these areas you don't have random encounters as well, so it's just enemies, which I appreciate. Oh, there's random encounters too. Never mind, fuck me. So these Zaku tanks are going to be the first like big evolution of enemies, and they're still considered tanks. They don't have like very traditional arms, if I'm remembering right, so they should not attack back, but I'm gonna try to find out right now if it's gonna hit me back when I hit it right now. Top cannon somebody else. Oh, it just blows up. As I don't think they're a big concern for counterattack damage. You can, of course, kill things on counterattack as well. which is a big advantage. That's why I do try to, as they become available, I do try to keep all mobile suits with melee weapons, even if I don't use them. It may seem like I give a lot of extra love to Fritz. That's because he just has a little bit better. I like to give him. He just has more options overall, so I do try to keep in line with him having more options overall. He is less effective at using melee weapons. Yeah. So I just saw this gun. Saga tank didn't hit back. He's less effective with melee weapons. So I don't necessarily try to keep him equipped with melee weapons all the time. Or use them all the time. But I will keep him equipped with one for better counterattack damage. And I do recommend that. I like his wind pose too. Big fan of the character. I like a lot of the characters in this game, just overall. I think they have good personality, and their personalities stay very consistent, which I appreciate. Now that's another shield, but Fritz doesn't have room for it on his current mobile suit, so I'm just gonna hang on to that until later. I will be keeping them in these mobile suits for probably a little while. It depends how my funds are looking at another point in the game that I can think of very clearly. There will be a point later where we're going to have an opportunity to buy a lot of data, and when that opportunity arises, I will be buying a good chunk of datas, and possibly making some mobile suits if able. That might be the first time we switch, but that is a little down the road. We do have this, and there's one other like brief dungeon that I know of off the top of my head. That is before that. What? And most melee boosts cannot be counterattacked. I think almost all of them cannot be counterattacked, if I'm not mistaken. So boost attack, melee boosts are generally okay to use without concern. Okay, so that's all been dealt with. Except for one more mobile suit. Will be showing up here. This is a goof.
Be careful. We've never seen one like this before.
We haven't. This is the one with the finger guns in the animes. And he's gonna use those finger guns right now too. He's also a metalhead.
stay cool. If you freak out, it's
Yeah.
all over. Not another one! Now we're in trouble!
I do like how Fritz hides behind Tristan. So this man is going to be Hal Vizart. He's going to be a very important party member and key figure throughout the plot. And if you've played a lot of, or if you've seen a lot of Gundam, you know that usually the guy with the mask is a fucking asshole. And yeah, story. But this is where they give you a third party member, and this is where they're going to introduce the idea of enemies using boost attacks as well, which is what this guy does. So we will be doing our best to just use ranged weapons to avoid his big attacks. We'll be defending accordingly when he's going to use a boost. Now, Hal is here, and he is designed to be a lot stronger than both Tristan and Fritz. So he has beam, access to beam weapons, of course. So he will do a lot more damage, and he will be what I use primarily. I'll be throwing grenades just to kind of like get a little tickle of some big damage. I wasn't paying attention there. For sure. Because Fritz has access to the Magella cannon and the grenade, I will be using him mostly to deal damage. I'll just let Tristan use healing items and the occasional boost attack. This is a very healthy enemy, and that is because they give you Hal. It does deal a lot more damage, so he is supposed to be very, very healthy here. Yeah, easy peasy. This is not a difficult fight. I would not really classify this as a boss fight because I think the danger of dying here is not high. I think this character looks like an asshole. Like, he looks like a douchebag, like he's gonna turn on us at some point and reveal that he's actually the bad guy the whole time. But yeah, he's a cool guy, sure. Yeah. Let's go get paid. So we are done here now. Now we go back to Angelia. So I love running back and forth. I do think the music here is a bit intense, given that it's not a dangerous place anymore. But I mean, it's cool for sure. Actually, gonna double check that my save state's working. It's load state. Okay, cool. Okay, you can't see the emulator window, like the regular command for the emulator, but you see the mouse moving around a bunch. Okay, now we're back to fighting tanks because I love fighting tanks. I should double check if I got any good bits of equipment from that last little soiree. I'm not looking at the victory screens very much. Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, we have a heat sword now. Better. So, something like a shield always goes on your left arm of the mobile suit. But you can find these additional armor pieces, which are like sideways shields. And these can go on either arm, but they can't occupy the same space as a shield. So, I think I do recommend as much as possible equipping both whenever you have them available, and if you have the space, because it is just extra defense, and since defense is kind of like a weird stat to adjust in this game, it's generally I would recommend it. Let's get up here to the right. Yep, got it that time. Big money? Not really, but you know, some money. It's a good early game reward. Goes for what items cost at this point. It's pretty good. Mostly I'm not worried about buying items, I'm worried about buying data. Love at first sight. How very right you are, Fritz. It is definitely love at first sight. But if I'm not mistaken, she's going to be joining our party soon, so she is our third party member. So just move our way on down here. And you don't have to go back over there to get her, but she just kind of shows up. Yeah. Yeah, here it is. Says no a bunch, and then she says please, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Changes his tune real quick. Tell it it's gonna be dangerous like 6 times, don't slow us down. Welcome to the club. He obviously has a crush on her. She'll be piloting the Zaku 2. Yeah, the Zaku 2 that Tristan, or that we found her in. And you cannot change who's piloting what mobile suit at this time, so don't worry about that. Oh, we are gonna equip this axe. So she'll fit into melee a little bit better Fritz will, and she'll be a little bit more versatile than the both of them, as opposed to having just one guy who does a bunch of melee stuff, one chick who does a bunch of range stuff. She also has a lot of ranged abilities, and she has this large cannon, or small cannon. It's better than my currently equipped. I don't remember what it's called anymore. The cannon I have on Fritz. It's a little bit better than that for the same amount of energy. So as far as ranged attacks go, the strategy doesn't change. I think this game is pretty straightforward strategy-wise. In fact, now we have to run through this nonsense again. The enemies are gone. Or the mandatory fights are gone. There's still random encounters here. I think I got everything too. If I missed any items, there might have been one over here, but I don't think so. Yeah. You can't adjust the camera in most of this game, if at all, so maybe the entire game. So if you can't see something, that's probably means there's nothing there. There's not a lot of hidden stuff, like hidden from view stuff. Mobile suit parts. Now we'll just proceed on Isengard. There was no real like direction given for where it is, but it's right here. And of course, we're gonna walk in our mobile suits, and everybody's gonna think we're fucking assholes. So we're gonna get attacked again. This will probably be where I'm gonna cut it after this short little adventure. We're just gonna be pretty much doing the same thing we just did. Nice chunk. Oops. So this one's pretty short. We just kind of come up here and we're gonna have to fight them because nobody would believe that a kid is here to see the captain of your military. I don't think this is an unreasonable thing to happen, honestly. They also use beam sabers, so they're much more effective than my little axes and heat swords. Good miss. The Magella Top Cannon. That's what it's called. And because they deal more damage, we are going to be a little bit more concerned about healing in this fight. I'm just going to go ahead and use the heat sword. Crit! That's cheap! Aeon has access to some basic heals as well as these hacks, which are ways of debuffing the opponent. I believe Tristan also learned repair. Did he learn repair or did they heal? Either way. They do give a lot of characters the ability to repair. It's just like a very basic heal, because I don't know why. I think because you only have 3 party members, so you need more access to it. I would say. Like how he doesn't try to explain that, like, he works with the unicorns, you know, we met at this base that was under attack, blah blah blah. They just roll in and are like, look man, we're not assholes. What I am looking for here is any items. I like items. You know, a lot of these base settings, there'll just be some lying around, but maybe not here. Of course, this has been a big misunderstanding. He meets us and he's like, oh, I know you guys. Yeah, you guys are cool. Blah, blah, blah. We'll just leave our mobile suits with the army. This is something that wouldn't fly in some of the shows. But in we go. I do like this, that you do have this short little scene where they say that they're gonna run around in town. Kind of just justifies the already thing that happens in every other game where you go into town and your party members are just hanging out. At least they've said here that they're gonna go hang out. Every other town they're just gonna run around and do their own shit. Fuck 'em. So. So the hangar is where you can customize your mobile suit's actual limbs and body parts. I'm gonna jump down here just real quick. You can see your party's mobile suits as they hang out, and then I don't know where the console is to do this. Is it over here? Oh, this is just an empty hangar because I don't have any more mobile suits. So, how do I do this? What I'm looking to do here is I got some Zaku shielding that I'm looking to equip to this Zaku 1. Possible. I thought there was like a console or something. No? Where it shows more that I haven't played this game in a while. Oh, that's the menu. Okay. Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to equip some extra armor, some extra like shoulder pads onto Zaku here, but I don't know how, so. There's also a mini G system. Now we saw one of these inside the Moon Arc as well. This is just a smaller version of the regular G system. This is only used to create parts, which are things that act as like physical components of the mobile suit and increase certain like minor stats, HP. The mobile suit stuff that is not affected by your weapons and whatnot. This is that. And we'll go ahead and save our progress, and that'll be it for today. The next time we'll be exploring Isengard before we progress the story here by talking to Captain Hal. There is a lot of stuff that you can get out of running around here at various points in the game. And there's some like small story bits that we can figure out. So we'll be looking at that next time and then moving on from here. So yeah, we'll see you guys around. Save state and call it a day. It's a lot of fun. Right over here. Load state. Cool. So see you guys later.